Border agents arresting an MS-13 gang member that's been traveling along with the migrant caravan.
This as Fox News exclusively learns of serious health risks being carried by some of those migrants.
The president will head to Buenos Aires, Argentina today for the annual G20 summit. He's expected to meet with several world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin.
The president should issue a public rebuke of Putin, and no better place to do it than the G20 summit.
House Democrats have formally nominated Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker. Pelosi needs to whittle down those 35 dissenters in order to hit the magic number of 218 in January.
Are there dissenters? Yes, but I expect to have a powerful vote as we go forward.
So it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas. The president and the first lady taking part in the 96th annual National Christmas Tree lighting.
May this Christmas season bring peace to your hearts, cheer to your spirit, and joy to the world.
And I love this Christmas music we're listening to.
Right.
Look at the
Have you guys put up your Christmas trees yet?
No.
This weekend.
I'm still growing mine. I'm going to chop it down soon, and then we hope to ring it inside.
Where's your tree farm?
My tree, it's expensive. It's in the back. But we used to, when I was younger, we used to buy trees with the roots, and we used to plant them in the backyard.
What do you mean younger? I remember you doing that like 5 years ago.
Well, no,
He was younger then.
Yes, I was younger. But what they did is we had like 7 years of trees in the backyard.
Yeah.
And then we had an above-ground pool, and it collapsed one year, wiped out all the trees, kind of broke our spirit.
Holy cow.
Then we got back on the horse, and then they started dying on a regular basis. Then we said, we're spending all this money for a tree. Why don't we just get one chopped down the way Jesus really had wanted it?
And then you
I don't
built the
remember that part of the
below-ground
Bible
swimming
story.
pool.
Then we did. No, then there's no more swimming pool
I thought you had a swimming pool. You don't.
in my new life.
Oh,
I'm talking
got
about
it.
my child.
Now that you're older.
I need to diagram all of that to figure it out. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us today. Last night they did light the Christmas tree, as you saw down in Washington, here at Rockefeller Center as well. So we're kind of in the spirit, but we've also got a whole bunch of news to talk about.
We absolutely do. We have a Fox News alert. There was an MS-13 gang member that was caught traveling with the migrant caravan. Border Patrol agents assigned to the El Centro sector say that they arrested him on Saturday night around 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
6 p.m.
The fellow's name, 29-year-old Jose Villalobos Jobel. He's from Honduras. He's been arrested, and he confirmed to the Border Patrol, yep, not only did I travel here to the area around Calexico, where he was apprehended, but I traveled with the caravan. I was in a gang, MS-13, and I'm entering the United States illegally. And so now they're going to hold him until he's repatriated and processed and send him back to Honduras.
We did hear there are about 600 lawbreakers or criminals within this caravan. We do know the numbers are pretty high now. There's about over 6,000 there. There's 3,877 are men, and now we know at least one is MS-13. That usually means Ecuador. And we also know the President of the United States has called this. I was watching last night. One of the reporters was sitting in the middle of the caravan, and they're saying a lot of them, some of them have decided to go home, some of them are frustrated, and others decide just to walk down until the wall runs out, and then there's a place where the wall is ended, and they just decide to go in illegally. Wow, doesn't that back up somebody's theory?
Well, we do know that he's from Honduras. We do know that he traveled with a caravan. We don't know exactly which of the caravans that pertains to. But to your point a moment ago, Brian, we've heard from the Department of Homeland Security. There are a bunch of people who are traveling in the caravan toward the United States who probably shouldn't come in.
Well, they arrested him close to the port of entry in Calexico, and they took him to the El Centro station. For further investigation, they ran something called a biometric background check, and records revealed in 2006 he had been deported, taken from Las Vegas, and sent back to Honduras via what they call an escort flight that takes them home.
Right.
My sense is it isn't just one MS-13 individual. Logic would tell you that gangs usually travel with gangs.
Well,
so far
we
they're
don't.
saying they've only found one.
Right, and there have been stories that apparently there have been paid informants traveling with the caravan who are giving the United States and Mexico both information. So we'll keep you posted on that. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit about this, and it's also a Fox News alert. The health situation is dire as the migrants continue to overwhelm our southern border, particularly at that encampment in Tijuana.
And now we got some numbers. Officials warning of serious health risks migrants are actually carrying through the caravan, and they're going to be bringing it to the U.S. should they get in.
Griff Jenkins is live in Tijuana, Mexico with the latest. Griff, some of that video that one of your photographers shot, it said there was a sign on the tent and it looked like it said prohibited spitting. You can't spit. Are you seeing a lot of that and coughing and things like that?
Yeah, good morning. There's signs all over the place, Ainsley, that say prohibido escupir. It means no spitting because it is rampant coughing and spitting everywhere in this overcrowded situation. The space here in Tijuana is for 1,000 people. They've got more than 6,000 crammed in there, coughing and spitting everywhere. Health officials very concerned. They tell me that more than 60% of the people here are suffering from respiratory infections, and we know of known cases of tuberculosis as well as HIV, AIDS, and chickenpox. Lice is widespread, but that's not the only thing going on. You know, they've been here for a while, and when we talked to one of the migrants here, Marco Munoz, he's from Honduras. He's seeking asylum. He believes he has a credible threat from gangs threatening his daughter, but he says, look, when you look at all this, first of all, in the first place, in the beginning, we were lied to by the organizers, but now we're reaching a dangerous breaking point. Listen.
They lied to us from the beginning. So most of these people are disappointed, you know, and getting frustrated at the time. So as you can see, every day that passes, it's more and more people that are coming. So it's going to be a point break where they're just going to say, let's rush in there, you know.
And it's that sort of sentiment, perhaps, that has President Trump. There are reports President Trump is thinking about extending into January his troop deployment. There's currently 5,900 active duty troops supporting CBP along the border, as well as 2,100 National Guardsmen. Guys?
All right. Hey, Griff, I got a question for you. I know it is dry there right now, but they've been talking all week about the migrants have been asking for tarps from the government, either the federal government or the city of Tijuana, and they said, we don't have any money for that. Today it's supposed to really start to rain, isn't it?
It has already, Steve, been pouring overnight. There's a break in the rain now, but it is soaked here. If you can kind of look behind me and see the tents, they've already got water all over them. These are tents that were handed out by Tijuana's municipal government. And that's been the mayor's complaint all along, that they gave them everything they could, but this operation's cost them $30,000 a day. They've given out all the tents they've got to give, and this rain is making it wet and cold with an already very sick population. It's definitely compounding the problem.
All right, Griff Jenkins live in Tijuana. Thank you very much.
Well, now that ends. Meanwhile, 7 minutes after the top of the hour, in case you have not noticed, there's some trouble in the House as they try to find a new leader when they actually get control of the House of Representatives. Now, it looks as though Nancy Pelosi by far is the front runner, but there are 32 Democrats voting against Nancy Pelosi. She can only afford to lose 17. She has made some progress when it comes to talking to some of the people and some of the opposition that is against her, but not enough yet.
So what happened is she was nominated by the Democratic caucus. You can see the numbers there, but the final vote by the full House is going to be in January. Right. There were 32 caucus members that opposed her, and 3 turned in blank ballots. So that means she has to get 15 of those 32 who are opposed to her to come on board with her, because she can only afford to lose 17.
So she is officially the leader of the Democratic caucus, but then the Speaker of the House, that election is going to be the first week in January. But keep in mind, even though we just saw she lost 32 Democrats, that's better than last time. 2 years ago when she was running against Tim Ryan, 63 people on the Democratic caucus voted for Tim Ryan. Big question is, can she get over the line without Republican help? She was asked about the dissenters in her own caucus yesterday, and this is what she had to say.
Let me tell you something. I'm talking about scores of members of Congress who just gave me a vote, are giving me a vote of confidence. That is where our focus is. Are there dissenters? Yes, but I expect to have a powerful vote as we go forward.
Steve, you brought up a good point. She was running against somebody, Tim Ryan.
A person.
Yeah, so she's not running against anyone. She went to the Problem Solvers, which is a bipartisan committee. They tend to be moderate, centrists. 8 she convinced to vote with her, one of which is not Kathleen Rice of New York. She called the talks with Nancy Pelosi not terribly productive and said the 203 to 32 vote plus 3 blank ballots, 1 absentee demonstrated that Pelosi does not have the absolute majority necessary. The question is, what will it take to put her over the finish line?
And there's no one else that's put their hat in the ring that said, I want, and there was one person that was kind of considering it, and then Nancy Pelosi gave her a powerful job, and she said, okay, never mind, I'm pulling out.
Funny how that works. But keep in mind, there were a lot of Democrats who ran this past cycle, and they all, every member of Congress, the Republican and Democrats in the House of Representatives were up for re-election first week in November. There were a lot who said, if elected, I will not vote for her. So they're in a pickle.
Do you think that some of those that didn't vote for her for the caucus, do you think that, or in the caucus, do you think that they are doing that because they want a powerful position? And and Nancy might say, if you vote for me, all she has to do is say that to 15 of those people who didn't vote for her.
Well, you know, a lot of people will return to Congress by saying, I'm not going to vote for her. And then if they vote for her, what are people going to do in 2 years when those people are for re-election again?
Well, the American Barometer poll found that 73% of voters wanted Democrats to pick somebody else to lead the House. So that's not nice.
Well, we'll see. All right, in the meantime, 6:11 here in New York City, and there's Jillian.
Good morning. Yes, following a number of stories starting with this, we now know the names of the 3 U.S. Special Ops troops killed on the deadliest day in Afghanistan this year. Army Captain Andrew Ross, Army Sergeant First Class Eric Amond, and Air Force Staff Sergeant Dylan Elchin died after their vehicle hit a roadside bomb. 3 other American soldiers and a contractor were also hurt in the explosion in Ghazni, a city south of Kabul. 12 American heroes have died in Afghanistan this year. Stormy Daniels is calling out her attorney, Michael Avenatti. She claims he filed a defamation lawsuit against President Trump without her permission. Daniels also telling the Daily Beast he started a second crowdfunding site for her legal expenses without telling her. Avenatti says he started the new campaign to cover legal fees because most of the money so far has gone to her security. Daniels has not decided if Avenatti will continue to represent her. In just hours, President Trump will head to Argentina for the annual G20 summit. He's expected to meet with several world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to the Kremlin, they'll discuss anti-terrorism efforts, Syria, and North Korean denuclearization. President Trump will also hold talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping over the trade war. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, yes. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree in New York City lit up and topped with a 900-pound crystal star. In Washington, the president and first lady taking part in the 96th annual National Christmas Tree Lighting. The 28-foot blue spruce is decorated with ornaments from every U.S. state and territory. Never gets old seeing those trees light up every year.
'Tis the season.
Yep.
Not even December yet.
I know, but it's okay. It's Christmas time.
It is indeed.
It's after Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you, Jillian.
Thanks, Jillian.
Meanwhile, the media have been making a lot of claims about the caravan. Have you seen?
He knows that migrant caravan isn't showing up here any day.
No one is paying for the caravan.
Many of these individuals are women and children.
How much of what is being said is true? We're going to try to separate fact from fiction coming up next.
And I can't read this. You go ahead, Angie.
Is it the final round for Rocky? Makes Brian sad. What Sylvester Stallone just revealed about his iconic character. Kleenexes, please.
If it's what I think it is, I'm not finishing the show.
Well, the migrant caravan we've been talking about dominating headlines in the mainstream media, but just how accurate are some of the claims? Here to break down from the fact from the fiction, we've got Republican strategist and executive director of Accuracy in Media, Gus Portela. Gus, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to play a couple of sound bites, and then we're going to have you separate fact from fiction. Here's the first one. Listen.
All of this for a group of people, a lot of whom are mothers and children, who pose no imminent threat to the United States.
Many of these individuals are women and children.
Okay, so the big question is, how much of the caravan, women and children? Gus?
It's a very small amount, actually. It's really funny that MSNBC is showing that the majority of the caravan or saying that the majority of the caravan are women and children, when in fact the caravan is overwhelmingly male, seeking jobs. And according to DHS, that is exactly what they're trying to do here. They're trying to cross the border to obtain new jobs here in America and make more money than they were making in their home countries.
That's right. According to Tijuana, that particular caravan, something like there are 3,700 men, 1,000 women, and 1,000 kids. Meanwhile, Gus, listen to this. Here's another one. One of the claims is that the caravan is far away. Watch.
He knows that that migrant caravan isn't showing up here any day.
A caravan of undocumented immigrants that was quite far from the border.
A caravan that's 800 miles away.
That's more than
still.
800 miles away.
Okay, so where is the caravan? Is it that far away?
The caravan is here. You know, it's really interesting that the mainstream media has failed to essentially run the coverage from this past weekend. The caravan is here, number one, and there's been some elements of violence across the border, so much so that the San Ysidro portion of the border had to be shut down because there were some violent members of this caravan that were throwing essentially rocks and glass bottles at Border Patrol agents, so putting themselves in harm's way.
Sure. And then we've got the news this morning that apparently a member of MS-13 admitted to the Border Patrol, yep, I'm from Honduras and I'm trying to go into the United States illegally, so he has been arrested. Gus, before you leave, what's your biggest concern about the caravan right now?
I think it's important to separate fact from fiction. More importantly, it's important to note that the mainstream media is not covering some of the important details here. So I think it's important to note that important for our viewers here, your viewers, to separate fact from fiction and question everything that the mainstream media is saying about this caravan. It's predominantly male. There have been some elements of violence. And the even more sad part, according to DHS, a statement released by Secretary Nielsen, they have even used some females and children in the caravan as shields against law enforcement officials.
That is troubling. Gus Portella, thank you very much for joining us. Great information.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. All right, 6:20 now here in New York City. President Trump says he will not take a pardon for Paul Manafort off the table. What exactly does that mean? Judge Napolitano is going to talk about that coming up. Plus, a new survey says nearly half of millennials don't think the United States is the greatest country in the world. And that survey only gets worse. Lawrence Jones weighs in on that next.
We have some quick headlines for you. Former Secretary of State John Kerry hinting that he could make a 2020 run for president.
I said I'm not going to eliminate, I'm not taking anything off the table. I'm going to think about it. I've said that point blank.
Nothing's off the table. He made that comment during an event at Harvard yesterday. Kerry last ran in 2004. He lost to President George W. Bush. And Jesse Ventura, also considering a 2020 White House run, the 67-year-old pro wrestler and former Minnesota governor, telling TMZ, quote, "If I do it, Trump will not have a chance. He knows he can never out-talk a wrestler, and he knows I'm the greatest talker wrestling's ever had." What do you think?
There you go.
Could he win?
Yeah, that's a good slogan. I'm the best talker the wrestling ever had. Why wouldn't you vote for him?
Well, is that
and
why
he did so well in Minnesota, hanging out in the basement the whole time.
That's what you're looking for. Meanwhile, whatever happened to American patriotism?
An alarming new online survey shows that national pride is falling among our nation's next generation, the so-called millennials, with 46% of them disagreeing that America is the greatest country in the world.
So what are millennials missing when it comes to American pride? Here to weigh in on this is editor-in-chief of Campus Reform, Lawrence Jones. Good morning to you, Lawrence.
Good morning, guys.
All right, so millennials were asked these questions, and millennials are aged 22 to 37. Let's show you some of the questions.
My age group.
Your age group.
Yeah.
All right, 37% think Barack Obama had a bigger impact than George Washington. What's your response?
I think Yeah, I think it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I know Obama wanted to be a king, but George Washington was the only person that was offered to be a king and turned it down. I mean, this is an age group that's more focused on identity politics and the celebrity of the president than the actual results of a president. And so it doesn't surprise me that they decided to go with Barack Obama.
How about this one? Almost half the country, 47% of millennials, believe America's future should be driven by socialism over capitalism. That just goes to show you how successful Bernie Sanders and company have been over the last couple of years.
Yeah, you know, and that's why I don't agree with people laughing at it. I mean, we've been reporting on this for a while at the Leadership Institute's campus reform of the rise of socialism on the college campuses, where a lot of these professors, like California State, have bashed capitalism, saying that it's racist. And so this rise of socialism can fundamentally change of America. That's why you have Beto, Ocasio-Cortez, and Bernie. There is a rise of it, and I think everybody should be concerned about it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's all over. You just have the way to counter that is just show video of Venezuela eating their pets. That's what happens with socialism. They run out of money. And lastly, 63% see America as a racist country.
I think it's kind of insulting to first say that we just elected a president and you have so much support. He was elected despite a terrible economy for 8 years. And then that same poll follows up and says that 46 of the country, 40% of those millennials believe that the country is also sexist. Hillary Clinton just won a popular vote. She just did not a campaign in states to win the Electoral College. And so, again, these are young people that are being taught this from an early age, that America is racist, America is sexist, but these people really don't like America. I mean, if you even go deeper in the poll, 41% only read the Bill of Rights. They don't even understand the foundation of this country. So I think all parents should be concerned, grandparents should be concerned, because their kids aren't getting the proper education, which is why you see this in the poll.
What else is very concerning is what we talked about at the top of this segment. 46% of them disagree. Almost 50% of millennials disagree that America is the greatest country in the world.
Yeah, and again, there is this anti-American rhetoric. Do we have problems in America? Yes. But most of us decide to roll up our sleeves and make this country a better place. I mean, if you go deeper in these polls, they don't believe in the Constitution. They believe that it's a living, breathing document. If you have issues in the country, your Constitution is the biggest defense system to fight injustices in this country. That's why we have people trying to come across the border illegally to get here. You don't see that for other countries.
Right. Lawrence Jones, thanks so much.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thanks, family.
All right, meanwhile, straight ahead, a major health crisis emerging in the caravan. Thousands of migrants sick, problems getting worse. We'll have reaction from Dr. Nicole Sapphire in just a moment.
Plus, it's a Christmas controversy. Why one town is forcing a homeowner to pay thousands of dollars for that, to keep his lights on.
Well, what about the light bill? But first, happy birthday to Russell Wilson. The Seattle Seahawks quarterback turns 30 years old today. Happy birthday, Russell.
All right, we're back with the Fox News Alert. Get this, the health situation becoming dire as migrants continue to overwhelm our southern border.
Officials warning of serious health risk that the caravan could bring into the United States.
Griff Jenkins is live in Tijuana, Mexico with the very latest, where right behind him, a tent city. And Griff, it is raining, it is cold, it is wet, and it is way overcrowded.
It is raining and wet, Steve, and it's not helping the problem. This is a sick population. Let me just get these numbers here and show you why the health officials are so concerned. They say they've treated 2,267 out of the 6,000 migrants, and over 60% have respiratory infections. There have been 3 confirmed cases of tuberculosis, 4 confirmed cases of HIV/AIDS. There's 101 cases of lice, although they say that number is probably much higher, and that there are 4 cases of chickenpox. And now they are really concerned concerned also about hepatitis because of the overcrowding situation. This space is for 1,000 people, more than 6,000 crammed in there. And guys, there's only 35 bathrooms for it. They've seen home cooking going on in here. It is very, very unsanitary on top of an unhealthy population here as the rain starts to come down a little bit more this morning. It's expected to go all day long. There are reports that they may try and move this population. We'll find out to see what happens, guys.
They got to go to a bigger stadium, or there is some concern, Griff, that more are coming. Have you heard that there are more caravans coming?
We know for sure, officials say that at least 1,000 to maybe more are coming from the Southern Caravan making its way here, and from Mexicali, where that MS-13 member was apprehended going across to Calexico. Those migrants, which was believed to be about 2,000, may be headed this way because they have even worse conditions and less space and resources there in Mexicali.
It's a desperate situation. All right. Griff, thank you very much. Let's bring in Dr. Nicole Saphier, Fox News medical contributor.
Here.
As you look at those images, I mean, you know, there are thousands of people in a small area. The area has a capacity of 3,000. There's 6,000 people there. What are your main concerns?
Everything that we're seeing in the shelter right now are things that you see anytime you have overcrowding and poor sanitation, really. And actually, I heard that they had to bring in a new pump recently because the sewage was overflowing into all the showers. And so when you have these type of close-knit situations with poor sanitation, you're going to see communicable diseases, respiratory infections, GI infections, lice. Some children now have confirmed cases of chickenpox, which tend to be in those that are not vaccinated. If you only have, I think it was 4 cases that were confirmed, but you can be infected with the varicella virus that causes chickenpox for 21 days before you even see symptoms of it.
Like 6,000 people are crammed into the space that's really made for 1,000 people. Did you expect something like this to happen as you were reading and learning these caravans were coming up?
Absolutely. This is not surprising, and everything that they're seeing there, we've also seen when we have, bad hurricanes or natural disasters that does force a lot of people into shelters. The concern is how long are they going to be in these conditions, because it will continue to spread. You will have more people affected, and right now they only have a small medical tent outside that's really only equipped to treat minor illnesses.
So you can't even get into a school if you don't have your shots. Now you're sitting in a stadium surrounded by a city.
Well, that's not true anymore in the United States, which is why we're actually seeing increase in chickenpox and other diseases in the United States.
Well, right now you have a whole city outside that stadium is wondering, what about us?
Yes, and so yes. So if you have unvaccinated children or adults there, they can potentially get chickenpox, which is there. In the United States, the majority of our children are vaccinated against chickenpox, so they would be safe from this. However, we now have a growing amount of children who are not vaccinated, and those are the children that will be at risk.
So the headline is, for you, they need medical attention in that caravan.
Of course they do.
As quickly as possible. And so the federal government in Mexico has got to step up and
whether
help.
it needs to be Mexico, whether they need to go back home to their home countries, but someone does need to care for these people. They can't stay in these conditions.
All right. Dr. Saphier, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right, Jillian has some headlines for us. Hey, Jillian.
That's right. Good morning. And the manhunt for a killer is intensifying after police find the body of a missing North Carolina teenager.
This is the outcome that we all feared that was going to happen. We will not stop until we find the person or persons responsible and we bring them to justice.
The FBI says they found the body of Hania Aguilar in a pond 10 miles from her home where she was abducted earlier this month. There is a $30,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest. A San Francisco leader is asking for Mark Zuckerberg's name to be removed from a local hospital.
We're not going to stand idly by while they violate people's privacy, while they use smear tactics against their critics.
He wants the city to reassess the name, saying it no longer serves the public interest. The hospital was renamed in 2015 after the Facebook CEO donated $75 million. A Christmas controversy, a New Jersey town demanding a couple pay $2,000 a day for this incredible light show at their own home.
A bunch of Grinches, and they're always going to be a Grinch. You can never make them happy. It's my religious right. It's my First Amendment right.
Tom Abruzzi's neighbors say his annual Christmas light display is drawing so many people, their neighborhood is becoming unsafe. The town now demanding he pay up for extra police security. Abruzzi started a fundraiser to cover the costs, but refuses to turn off his lights. Close your ears, Brian. The end may be near for boxing sensation Rocky. Coming off the release of Creed 2, actor Sylvester Stallone posting in part on Instagram, quote, though it breaks my heart, sadly all things must pass and end. Rocky will never die because he lives on in you. Stallone first started playing Rocky Balboa in 1976. I'm just getting so choked up.
Well, let me just tell you, Creed, I saw Creed 2. Yeah. He was great in Creed 2, Rocky. He owns a restaurant that doesn't stay open to watch sporting events, which is interesting. But he seems to be doing well. Yeah. I could see him coming back and just focusing on his life in the bar.
Maybe he just wants to go out on top. If this Creed 2 is a good movie, maybe it's time. I've done it all. I'm going to step out of the ring.
So you said at the beginning of the show you're going to leave.
Right. If Rocky leaves,
you would not be able to conclude the show.
I would. If Rocky does in fact leave, I will also leave boxing.
Have you done the art museum steps in Philly?
No, I haven't.
We had John Roberts did it live on this show.
Right.
Have you done it? Yes, I've done it too.
It's too bad that people run up the library steps and then turn back down. That's the sad part. No one ever goes to the library anymore. We just go to the statue and we turn around.
Yeah.
It's not a library. It's an art museum.
It's an art museum.
Oh, okay.
Besides, when he ran up, there was no Rocky statue. Now Rocky's waiting for you.
Right.
All right. Meanwhile, 20 minutes before the top of the hour in Janice Dean, it is chilly outside, and that's why you're jumping.
Exactly. I would be out of breath going up those steps for sure. You know what? We have a winter storm that is going to cross the East Coast this weekend, and here are your current temperatures. It's 40, but it feels colder than that because it's windy and you've got that wind chill. It's cool across the Midwest, the Great Lakes. That's where we're seeing some snow shower activity, but the bigger storm system is starting to form across the West, and this is going to give the West a lot of heavy rainfall, which means across the burn areas, flash flooding, debris flows, and we could see feet of snow across the Sierra Nevada mountains. So this is our system that's going to bring the energy across the central U.S. and the potential for not only a snowstorm and potentially a blizzard, but severe storms tomorrow across portions of the southern and the central plains. So we'll be watching that for the threat for tornadoes, unfortunately. And then all of that rainfall is going to move across the eastern third of the country this weekend. We will keep you up to date. It's been a busy one so far. It's not even the official day of winter.
I know.
Back inside.
Still November. All right, JD, thank you.
You got it.
It's not really the cold. It's the wind that kills you.
It's very breezy today.
Yeah. It's no space. It's only cold outdoors. Right.
No, not necessarily true.
Right. All right. Meanwhile, President Trump says he will not take a pardon for Paul Manafort off the table. What does that mean? We're going to talk to Judge Napolitano about that next.
The judge has been really busy during this administration, and we're getting a sneak peek at the hottest trucks of the future. Mike Caudell is live at the LA Auto Show.
Guys, we are taking you behind the scenes on Media Preview Day number 2 here at the Los Angeles Auto Show. And I have got a lineup that will absolutely wow you. From a vehicle that was developed in partnership with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra to a never-before-seen truck. Stay right here as Fox and Friends continues.
About the alarming new health risks being carried by some of the migrants.
My testimony was laughed at, they yawned at it, but they would not accept when I told them that, in fact, I never met Assad.
The tables could be turning on Robert Mueller after one of his latest targets, lawyers up.
How the special counsel's tactics could end up backfiring in a big way. We'll talk about that. Also, a hero's welcome, the over-the-top reunion that'll make your morning.
Fox and Friends First continues right now. Glamorous, I immediately think of Rob Schmidt.
Don't start. It's too early. It's just too early.
Good morning. You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Thursday. I'm Jillian Mealy.
I'm Rob Schmidt. Thanks for getting up early with us. She's already starting. Straight to a Fox News alert. Border agents arresting an MS-13 gang member that's been traveling along with the migrant caravan.
This as Fox News exclusively learns of serious health risks being carried by some of those migrants. Griff Jenkins is live in Tijuana, Mexico. Good morning, Griff.
Good morning, Jillian and Rob. Yeah, his name is Jose Villalobos Jobel. He's a 29-year-old Honduran traveling with the caravan, the 2,000 migrants in Mexicali. He was apprehended at the Calexico, California port of entry, and he is very much a part of that very dangerous MS-13 gang. In fact, the Customs and Border Protection issuing this statement saying Villalobos confirmed his story of his gang involvement and intent on entering the United States illegally. But, Jillian, that's not the only risk, as you mentioned, these health issues. The spokesman for Tijuana's health department, Raimundo Aguilera, tells me that they have treated 2,267 migrants so far. Over 60% have respiratory infections. There have been 3 confirmed cases of tuberculosis, 4 cases of HIV/AIDS, 101 cases of lice, 4 cases of chickenpox, and they are very much concerned about hepatitis because of the very unsanitary conditions here. There's only 35 bathrooms for 6,000 migrants in a space intended for 1,000. We talked to one of those migrants, Marco Munoz, who says he feels like he was lied to by the organizers from the beginning, and he's worried now this group is headed for a breaking point. Listen.
They lied to us from the beginning. So most of these people are disappointed, and getting frustrated at the time. So as you can see, every day that passes, it's more and more people that are coming. So there's going to be a point break where they're just going to say, let's just rush in there,
And compounding the problem this morning, Rob and Jillian, as you can maybe see, it's raining now lightly, but at times it's been raining hard. And so the migrants, in addition to all of these problems, will be wet and cold. It's expected to rain most of the day, guys.
After about a 2,000-mile walk. Yeah, that is a tough time there. Griff, thank you so much.
A key witness in the Russia probe now intending to file a criminal complaint against Robert Mueller, just as a top Democrat demands President Trump sit down with the special counsel.
Todd Pyro joins us live with the latest developments as we get a look at the president's written answers to Bob Mueller. Hey, Todd.
Hey, guys. Good morning to both of you. In the latest shocking twist in the Russia probe, conservative author Jerome Corsi with a bombshell that he plans to go after Robert Mueller and his team in the courts.
What the special prosecutor is asking me to do is accept a fraudulent plea, which I am going to have my attorneys file criminal charges on with the Department of Justice. My experience made it clear to me that the political criminals are running the Department of Justice and Mueller's prosecution. They misbehaved, and they accused me of being a liar and a fabricator.
Yet undeterred, Democrat Adam Schiff calling for President Trump to sit down for an in-person interview with Mueller, saying the president's written answers weren't enough.
There really needs to be a live interview with the president because you need to be able to ask follow-up questions in real time.
All this coming as leaks of those written answers are coming out, specifically 2 key points. 1, President Trump telling Mueller that Roger Stone did not tell him about the Clinton WikiLeaks documents, and 2, that Trump wasn't told about the 2016 Trump Tower meeting with that Russian lawyer claiming to have dirt on Hillary Clinton. The president responding by tweeting, quote, while the disgusting fake news is doing everything within their power not to report it that way, at least 3 major players are intimating that the angry Mueller gang of Dems is viciously telling witnesses to lie about facts, and they will get relief. This is our Joseph McCarthy era. As for Paul Manafort, there are reports that Manafort reportedly gave untruthful statements to Mueller about his relationship with a Ukrainian associate, leading to the end of his plea deal and leading the president to say a pardon for his embattled former campaign manager is, quote, not off the table, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Todd.
Okay. All right, along the same lines, Roger Stone, the former Trump campaign advisor in the midst of Bob Mueller's investigation, is adamant that neither he nor Jerome Corsi had prior knowledge of WikiLeaks' plan to release those emails taken from John Podesta.
But he says they're being targeted because they support the president.
But I think it's despicable that they have tried to pit Jerry Corsi and I, both strong supporters of the president, against each other, when the bottom line is neither one of us received anything whatsoever from Julian Assange or WikiLeaks or anyone else. My point is, I had no reason for a cover story. Jerry said I was getting heat, but there was no heat. For 6 weeks, no one even noticed that tweet. It was not until the Podesta papers were published by WikiLeaks, that became controversial. So I had no reason to cover it up. I had no advanced knowledge of the hacking or, the theft or the publication of the Podesta emails. I had no reason for a cover story.
The controversy stems from Stone's August 2016 tweet in which he said it would soon be the Podesta's time in the barrel. Stone says it referred to John Podesta and his brother Tony regarding their lobbying activities. The emails were released 2 months later.
Stormy Daniels calling out her own attorney, Michael Avenatti. She claims that Avenatti filed a defamation lawsuit against President Trump without her permission. Daniels also telling the Daily Beast that he started a second crowdfunding site for her legal expenses without telling her that either. Avenatti says he started the new campaign to cover legal fees because most of the money so far had gone to her security. Daniels has not decided if Avenatti will continue to represent her.
Nancy Pelosi is one step closer to becoming House Speaker. Democrats voted behind closed doors yesterday to nominate her for the job. The final tally, 203 to 32. Some Democrats opposed her nomination in recent weeks, saying they want fresh leadership. Pelosi will need 218 votes when the entire House meets in January to officially regain the title. The Senate is set to hold a tense confirmation vote on one of President Trump's judicial nominees today. Thomas Farr is facing resistance from Senate Democrats who